What if the bread sitting on your kitchen counter right now isn't food at all, but a carefully engineered product designed to keep you coming back for more? Because in the UK today, bread isn't what it used to be. It's no longer just flour, water, yeast, and salt. It's emulsifiers, preservatives, enzyme cocktails, industrial processing, and in many cases, residues you were never meant to consume in the first place. And here's the uncomfortable truth. More than half of bread tested in the UK has been found to contain pesticide residues baked directly into it. Not on the surface, inside the bread. You can't wash it off. You can't toast it away. You eat it or you avoid it. And today we're exposing 5 of the worst offenders. The breads that look harmless, feel soft, and taste familiar, but come with a hidden cost. Let's begin. First, the classic supermarket white sliced loaf, the one most households buy without thinking. Soft, fluffy, cheap, and completely stripped of anything real. Because what you're eating here isn't traditional bread. It's a product of something called the Chorleywood process, a high-speed industrial method designed to turn low-quality flour into bread in under 3 hours. That might sound efficient, but it comes at a cost. To make this process work, manufacturers rely on a cocktail of additives, emulsifiers to force structure, oxidizing agents to speed up development, preservatives to extend shelf life, and what you end up with is bread that feels soft but has almost no nutritional depth, no real fermentation, no time for the dough to develop, no proper breakdown of gluten, just rapid production and maximum profit. This is the bread that spikes your blood sugar, leaves you hungry again within an hour, and tricks your body into thinking it's been fed when it hasn't. It's not nourishment, it's filler. Next, we move to brown bread that isn't really brown. This is where things get deceptive. Because most people believe brown bread equals healthy, but in many cases, that color doesn't come from whole grains. It comes from caramel coloring. That rich, dark shade, it's often added purely for appearance. The flour itself is still heavily refined, so what you're buying is essentially white bread dressed up to look healthy. And when you check the label, you'll see it. Refined wheat flour, coloring, additives. Very little fiber, very little nutritional value. It's one of the biggest marketing tricks in the supermarket. You think you've made a better choice, but you haven't. Then we have seeded bread. Now this one is clever, because sprinkling a few seeds on top instantly gives the impression of health. It looks premium. It looks natural. It looks wholesome. But flip the packet over, and what do you find? Refined flour as the base, added sugars in some cases, vegetable oils, and just enough seeds to justify the label. Those seeds on top, they're decoration, not substance. You're still getting the same processed foundation underneath. And those seeds don't undo what the base bread is doing. They just distract you from it. Now let's talk about low-fat and light breads, because this is where confusion turns into manipulation. Bread was never supposed to be about fat in the first place. So when a brand starts advertising low-fat bread, you have to ask, what are they replacing it with? And the answer is usually simple. More refined carbohydrates, more processing, more additives to maintain texture and shelf life. Because when you strip something out, something else has to take its place. And in ultra-processed bread, that something else is rarely good news. You end up with a product that sounds healthier on the label, but behaves worse in your body. Faster digestion, sharper blood sugar spikes, less satiety, and a cycle that keeps you reaching for more. And finally, the worst category of all, the long-life packaged breads. The ones that stay soft for days, sometimes weeks, that don't go stale the way real bread should. Because real bread goes stale. That's normal. That's what happens when you're dealing with natural ingredients and real fermentation. But when bread stays soft indefinitely, something else is going on. Preservatives, moisture-retaining agents, stabilizers, all working together to keep that artificial softness intact. And while it might be convenient, it's not what your body recognizes as real food. This is bread engineered for shelf life, not for health. And the longer it lasts, the further it usually is from what bread was meant to be. Now here's the bigger picture. It's not just about one brand, it's about an entire system. A system that prioritizes speed, cost, and consistency over quality. A system that takes something as simple as bread and turns it into a highly processed product. Because real bread takes time. It requires fermentation. It requires patience. It requires better ingredients. And those things don't scale easily in an industrial environment. So instead, shortcuts are taken. Additives replace time. Processing replaces tradition. And marketing replaces honesty. And most people never notice, because it looks like bread, it smells like bread, it tastes like bread. But your body knows the difference. That sluggish feeling after eating, the hunger that comes back too quickly, the lack of satisfaction, those aren't coincidences, they're signals. Now here's what makes this even more concerning. That statistic we mentioned earlier. Over half of bread samples containing pesticide residues. That means the wheat itself, the very foundation of the bread, is already compromised before it even reaches the factory. Wheat is one of the most heavily sprayed crops. Fungicides before harvest, chemicals after harvest. And because many of these substances are systemic, they become part of the grain itself. Which means they end up in the flour. Which means they end up in your bread. Every slice, every sandwich, every morning. And you wouldn't even know, because no one's pointing it out. No one's highlighting it on the packaging, and no one's explaining what it actually means for your long-term health. So what do? You don't panic, you become aware, because not all bread is bad. But the difference between real bread and processed bread is massive. Real bread has a short ingredient list. Flour, water, yeast or sawdust or salt. That's it. It doesn't need a paragraph of ingredients. It doesn't need preservatives to survive, and it doesn't try to trick you with color or branding. It's denser, it's more filling, and it behaves differently in your body, because it's actually food. So next time you're standing in the bread aisle, don't just grab what you always grab. Turn the packet over, read the ingredients, ask yourself one simple question. Is this bread, or is this a product pretending to be bread? Because once you start seeing the difference, you can't unsee it. And once you start choosing differently, everything changes. Your energy, your digestion, your overall health. It all starts with the small things, even something as simple as bread. And if there's one thing the supermarkets don't want you doing, it's questioning what's on their shelves. Because the moment you do, you stop being just a customer. You become someone who sees through the system. And that changes everything. This is TruthCart UK. And now you know.